Now, we're going to mute and
Yes.
stop video right
Yeah.
now
Oh.
because we got 10 minutes.
Okay.
I won't when I do it.
They can't hear you yet. Okay, now.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. If you join me in the pledge, please.
Allegiance to the flag, of the United States of America, to the republic,
Before I forget, anybody that came in, if you didn't sign the pad there by the door on the table, please do. We can keep a record of attendance. Well, first I want to introduce our new zoning assistant, Diana Welch, please.
Hi, everybody.
She's not gonna come forward. She'll pull back.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
Everybody knows who you are now. Thank you.
You're welcome. I had to let somebody sit down there. They don't have no seats.
Oh, a few seats over here to the side.
We're standing. I can go over
Chief, you want to proceed with the swearing in?
Did he run off? Changed his mind.
Yeah, changed his mind. We've been running since I got here with a couple acting officers. We had some vacancies in the lieutenant's ranks. We did an evaluation assessment. We had several outsiders. Actually, one of which we will be hiring in July. And we had some internal candidates, all of them very well and very good. We put a lot of thought and process into who internally would be promoted. And at the end of the day, we ended up with this. For those of you that don't know, this is Paul Cade. He's got quite the history here with the department with his older relatives. And so it's my honor to swear him in officially. He's been acting as a lieutenant since October last year. May, almost a year. Okay, so now here we are a year later, and he's officially gonna be a lieutenant. So I will swear you in. If you're ready, just raise your right hand. I state your name. I need you to know.
Wait for you to say. Paul Cade,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
or affirm
that
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
I will support the Constitution of the United
the
States,
Constitution and laws of the state of Ohio,
Constitution and laws of the state of Ohio,
and will faithfully discharge the duties of lieutenant
and will faithfully discharge the duties of lieutenant
at Harlem Township Division of Fire
at Harlem Township Division of
at
Fire
Harlem Township, Delaware County,
in Harlem Township, Delaware County,
state of Ohio,
state of Ohio,
and during my continuance in office, so help me God.
during my continuance in office, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Yes. See if I can do this without blowing blood. Darn, I actually did it right. I mean. Uh-huh. Congratulations. Yeah.
Congratulations, sir. Yep. Congratulations, Didi. You, Jerry. Yes, sir. Congratulations.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Well, we have a hearing at 7:15. Lauren, do you have anything for us tonight?
No, nothing new, just we still moved out of Free West Winter, aren't in our new building yet. Maybe next time I'm here, we'll be in our new building. But if you're looking for any health department services, you can find them at the Sunbury office, right?
Okay, thank you. Roger, you got something brief? Yeah,
Let me be brief.
you can do it.
I can. Want me here?
Yeah, please.
Some of you don't know me. I'm Roger Nyberg, and I'm here tonight as chair of the Harlem Township Heritage Group. We've been practicing what we do now for 10, 12 years, a long, long time. And one of the most integral part of what we do is Harlem Township Days and Winter in the Park. And both of them are kind of hard to do without adequate electricity. And we realized that some things was not up to code. I might have even been partly responsible for that, along with somebody else in this room. But anyways, what we propose for you tonight is that you would accept from Harlem Township Heritage the upgrade to the 2 electrical boxes that was taken down. I've got the word of a very prominent retired electrician that he's going to help. He's laughing. So Mr. Richardson there said he would help us do the wiring if he didn't have to do any shovel digging. We're going to set in our estimation, we would like to set the boxes close to the yard boxes. There's a little wire we need. A little less expense.
Right.
We would like to see the GFIs on the rest of the material in the park replaced. Most of them are bad. We're more than willing to stand the cost of the 2 boxes. And if necessary, I may get shot here, we will replace the GFI units too. Just for our records and responsibility to our group, and I would like to see you accept this in a motion form, so we can tell our people when we go spend out $1,500 or so that we did so with your approval.
One thing, Roger, we should be able to save the panel, the one that was near the Christmas tree. That is actually still usable. That should still be able to be used.
Yes, yes.
So that you wouldn't have to be, there would only be the purchasing of the one's weatherproof panel. Out
On
by the
weatherproof
gazebo.
panel for the pine tree area. We really want to get that one done. We had talked about not doing it, but Winter in the Park is well received by the community.
Mhm.
And I can't tell you the number of people talk about how nice a gazebo looks and they're driving down the road. And that's where we pulled electric for that. Now that box on the south, what is it, southeast corner?
Gentlemen, we have a motion to approve.
So moved.
One quick question, on the utility shed, Roger, are there any plans to put electric in the shed there, tractor shed, I call
The
it,
mower shed?
mower shed?
There is currently.
We haven't talked
Is
about
there
that
current?
recently.
There's a circuit there.
There is a circuit there, but it
Okay.
hasn't been functioning for some time, I guess.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
I think there's just some replacement of some minor things inside there that need done.
Okay,
If that's permissible, we will probably do that.
while you're at it, yeah, I'll second that motion then.
We have also talked about down the road, not right away, but maybe at sometime after we get through the Harlem Township days. Doing something to spruce up the building. It's got some damage to it, and quite frankly, it's a blight on the community. And if it's our building, we ought to replace it, clean it up, make it look better, so.
Motion's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.
Second note for Harlem Township Heritage. I believe in giving kudos to people who needs kudos, that receive them, that deserving. I have personally witnessed Otis get out of the tractor, pick up one of the farm market signs and move it rather than run over his lawn with the mower. You'd be surprised number of signs we lose, especially on the county roads. Do the mower, they just don't withstand the mower. But I did personally see Otis get out and move it, and I'll pass that on to him when I see him, but I thought you as trustees should know that, so.
Thank you.
We do have a bike ride coming up July 8th.
Mhm.
We will see the new signs out in the morning for the bike ride. Farm market signs, the farm market has gone real well. If you haven't been to one, tomorrow night at 4 o'clock, you ought to stop in and walk through the farm market. Tomorrow night, we got Bob's Burger Bus there. Very unique Volkswagen from back in our age. Its top opens up and he cooks in it. It's very unique. But we are trying to have a food truck every farmer's market now. Being well received. We're averaging about 100 meals a week. I'll tell you how it's kind of used to Parks getting, so. Anything from you guys? I'll sit down and shut up. Is that quick enough?
Thank you.
Thank you,
Is
Roger.
that quick enough?
Yeah, great. Well, is Gary Walters not here yet, is he? No. Lisa, you wanna,
Sure, bank reconcile for May is up there for signature. Appropriation, ledger and status report was emailed to you guys.
Right.
Approval of minutes for May the 16th or May the 17th, regular trustee meeting, June the 1st, special trustee meeting, June the 5th, special trustee meeting.
motion to approve?
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, minutes are approved. Want a motion on the warrants and vouchers?
Yeah. wait a minute. I don't have a first, hold on a second here. All right. Approve the warrant 12975 through warrant number 13000, voucher number 67-2023, voucher through voucher number 72-2023. Total amount $67,199.89.
We have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Second, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion carried.
I'd like to establish a new fire revenue fund for the purpose to accumulate resources for training for investigations, inspections, knockbox purchases, smoke detector purchases, fire safety training and handouts for residents, etc. Collecting fees for fire prevention activities, inspections, permits, etc.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
okay, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.
Establish a new appropriation account fund for the same thing of, for this new collecting fees for the fire prevention activities.
Okay,
So moved.
second,
Second.
motion been moved and seconded, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.
When interest kept rising, a couple of months ago, I had a discussion with our First Commonwealth Bank about the percentages we are earning from checking account and our money market savings account. I'm happy to announce we've gone from earning 0.2% equals about $31.02 for each account to now earning 3.82%. And the earning is about $5,370.96 on average per month.
What a raise.
Yeah.
And then Harlem Township audit for 2021 and 2022. The fiscal office received a clean audit with no exceptions for the records. The link will be on the link to the audit report will be added to the website when I finally get it. I've only got a draft. So I think he wants his money first, then he'll release it out to us.
Yeah, makes sense.
But it was clean, no exceptions,
Yeah.
no nothing, we're right on track.
That's good, great.
And then approval of the correction of March 22, 2023 minutes. Reference is the revised fire code. Because we started embedding the resolutions and this was not embedded into it in March, so I'd like it corrected. Because we stopped having a resolution book and only have a minutes book now. So we combined into one book. So that's why you guys have the resolution. You're just voting to put it in the minutes.
Okay.
It's the same resolution that you guys approved back in March.
Same number.
Yeah, everything's the same. We just embedded the resolution. We didn't have it in March.
So do I, have a motion for a redo here?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, resolution's been passed. You got anything else there?
7:15, Dave.
I think that's it.
It's time. All right, this time we'll recess the business portion of the meeting and begin the hearing for Articles 32 and 33. Procedure to apply conservation subdivision standards is Article 32. Article 33 is clustered residential conservation district. These articles were received at a special meeting June 5th. Was posted on the website, posted on the back door, the sign, Facebook. I guess about it. Delaware Gazette, it was advertised, the meeting was advertised in the June 7th edition Delaware Gazette. With that, Holly, would you like to lead us off?
Thank you and good evening. As you mentioned, this is the Clustered Residential Conservation District, otherwise known as the CRCD. It is an overlay district that will apply to the central area of the township just north of the mixed use district that was adopted a month ago and is now in effect along Fancher Road. So this will allow for clustered residential, as the name alludes to, and allow for higher density housing than what your current zoning code would allow. And that would be due to the sewers that are anticipated to arrive in Harlem Township sometime around 2026, as that tunnel from City of Columbus is being extended to the north, and Delaware County will be servicing into Harlem Township from that line. This overlay district has two sections to it. It has section 32 and then section 33. So Article 32 and Article 33. 32 is the procedure section and 33 is the development standards section. Both of these went through the strategic planning committee through several drafts and then went to the zoning commission, who has now recommended approval after a public hearing to the township trustees. And then by law, you're holding your public hearing tonight on the draft document that was presented to you from the zoning commission and has been displayed on your website as well. A couple of things. I know you're all familiar with the overlay districts. As we went through the quick strategy guide, we talked a lot about what would be in these. So I don't want to get into the details of those tonight since we've talked so much about it, but I want to bring four things to your attention because they are feedback that we've received as we move out of the zoning commission and into the trustee level. These are feedback that we've received from stakeholders, some in the development arena. They revolve around side setbacks, net developable acres, density, and percentage of lot sizes. So I've been working with Jim Steelsmith and trying to address these concerns and to present some alternatives to the trustees to consider tonight as they look through the document. So I gave Kendra a copy of a redlined version of the code that would include the four changes that we possibly consider tonight to address the stakeholder feedback that we received. Most of those changes take place on pages 7 and 8 of the redline version that was emailed to Kendra and then I believe forwarded to you. The first one is in section 33.07D. In the table, it will be table 33.1. That is, we're proposing to eliminate the sub areas. So we currently, in the draft that was recommended approval from the zoning commission, have a sub area A and a sub area B. Sub area A being the northern portion of the overlay, the one closer to Central Village. Sub area B being a little further south, closer to Fancher Road. The thought when we did that was that it would transition out of that mixed use, higher density area and then taper down in density. As we went through several different conversations with the strategic planning committee and the zoning commission, over time, the way we were calculating density started to transition. We were originally, when I calculated the numbers and how to get to a certain number of units to support the sewers, was based on gross acreage. Then it was brought to my attention that the township really would like to follow its current definition of open space or usable acres, which is net developable acres. So when I do that, that subtracts out some of the acreage that was being utilized to calculate that density. And all of a sudden your 2 units per acre becomes more like 1.4, 1.5 units per acre when you subtract that acreage out. And it's not supportable by sewers. So I'm recommending that we go to the 3 dwelling units per net developable acres. That gets you somewhere in that 2.3 to 2.5 dwelling units per acre, maybe a little denser, just depending upon how many net developable acres they have. The other thing regarding net developable acres is right under that table. The concern was brought to us that if someone has a parcel that has 50% woods, that they are being penalized and getting less density than someone who has 20% natural features. They can only use 50, if it's 100 acres and they have 50 acres in woods, they can only use 50 acres to determine their density, whereas somebody else with the 20% could use 80 acres to determine their density. So we've had conversations with the strategic planning committee and the zoning commission that the township really wants to continue to use that net developable acres. So the only way that I could think that made that a more level playing field was to add the language under table 33.1 that caps the net developable acres at 70%. So that way, if somebody has 50 acres of woods, they aren't being penalized to the degree that they really originally thought they were with the original language. And I chose 70% because when you actually look at developments, either when they're using gross acreage or net developable acres, 70%, 70 to 80% is typically what you find in a development as far as what they have available for development. And the other 20 to 30% tend to be natural features, rights of ways, and those sorts of things that are not included in that acreage to be developed. So that's why I capped it at that 70%. It keeps consistent with you using the same terms that you use in your current code, but brings it more in line to create densities that are supported by the sewers. Then the other 2 changes are on the next page in table 33.2 on page 8 of the red line version that you should have received yesterday, I believe. The change has to do with the minimum lot width percentages. This was another area where we got feedback that the larger lots were actually effectively creating less density, density that couldn't be supported by the sewers. We originally had that you had to have 40% of single family lots as 80 feet or larger, and only 30% for 70 foot and 30% for 60 foot. So we have adjusted those numbers to allow for more 70-foot lots. So 70-foot lots would be at 50%, 80-foot lots would be down to 10%, and 60-foot lots would be at 40%. Creates more of an even distribution of those lots. And I would think that you would see them scattered throughout a little bit better that way as well to create a little more diversity. Then the last thing is also on this same table, and it has to do with the side lot lines for the 80-foot lots. 80-foot lots are used a lot for side loading garages, and with the 10-foot on each side, the developers were concerned that they would not be able to get side loaded garages utilizing that setback. So we are changing that to have a combined 15-foot setback, just like we had it for the 70-foot lots, allowing them to go down to 5 foot on one side and still maintaining the 10-foot on the other side. And the side that they have the 5-foot setback on would allow them to get that side loaded garage in. And again, I would argue that this does create more diversity in the neighborhood, because if you have some side loading garages intertwined through your neighborhood, you're not looking at, the same elevation over and over. You're creating that diversity throughout the neighborhood. So I wanted to highlight those 4 changes. Again, they are just proposed to you tonight. It is not what's coming from the zoning commission. So you would need to consider them as an amendment tonight, which you are allowed to do, but want to make sure that we call those out if we're going in that direction. So I'm open to questions.
You say 80-foot lot, you're talking about frontage?
Yes.
The comments that Regional made, can you enlighten us on what you agreed with and whatnot?
Yeah, I don't have my notes with me on the Regional Planning Commission, but there were, I think, well, just a couple that we didn't agree to, and that was the bike path meandering. They want us to address that, and I just don't think that makes sense for Harlem Township. You need to be able to meander your bike paths. And then a couple other minor
I
ones.
think
but
they were
most of
wanting the
them-
development standards to be pulled out and put somewhere else. That wasn't
We
gonna be
did pull out,
consistent.
we pulled the procedures out into a separate
Okay.
document. So I think that's moving in that direction, so.
Any questions of what Holly's talked about?
No, I don't.
I have nothing. Been reading this today, so.
Go ahead.
No, I'm saying I'm
Oh,
I have
yeah, I
no
did
questions.
too. I think it's,
read it through and
I'm kind of leaning more towards the red line version as an amendment. What you gentlemen are.
so of these two, the one that's got the red lines, the clean copy is the way that your recommendations.
Well, the red line, it has my recommendations in it, the 4 that I just went over, the red line.
Okay, got you.
Yeah.
See that now, sorry, I misread that earlier. My eyes started going cross after looking at these for about 4 hours today again.
Yeah, I understand.
I think we need to make sure that we are giving the percentages of the building to match up with the sewers. If we're not meeting that, we're gonna find ourselves with the,
Well, that's why I'm kind of considering the amendment version.
yeah,
It gets the density where
we're,
it should be okay.
we have numbers that were promised. Not that we had no control over, and we have to try to meet those numbers. I would myself lean towards the red line.
I agree. But how do we compare with other jurisdictions, Holly, on that very issue?
Yeah, I think that with these changes, you're in line with other communities that have water and sewer, and I think that it makes sense to move in this direction. So I would support the amendment.
Chairman, I'll make a motion. What do we need? 2 different motions on this?
I'm trying to think on that one.
No, it is one
One.
hearing, so it's one motion for
Yeah.
both articles.
Well, with the one document as amended in the red line.
Yeah.
Correct.
What numbers do we need
That's-
here?
Yeah, well, it's 30,
32.
it's 32 as presented and 33 as the red
amended.
line.
Yep.
33 is what we're
Yes.
We're amending.
amending.
Amending the amendments of 33, but we are approving 32 as it was
As
presented.
written.
Yep.
Or presented.
So move what Carol just said.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Roll call vote, Richardson,
Aye.
Jackson,
Aye.
Paul.
All right.
Motion passed.
Okay, motion carried. That concludes our hearing. We'll reconvene our business portion. Gary, work you in now.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's everything you sent us?
Yeah.
I've already got a copy.
Trustees have copies or?
I did, I emailed
I
it
don't
to
know.
them.
Let me set this down over here. Oh, she did.
All right.
Did you have one extra?
And then I have some cyber options, cyber liability options to review with you as well, so. We have the original carrier that we presented last year, and then an option that's a little bit lower premium you may want to consider. Original carrier. And then the new one. Whole lot of trees getting killed here.
I guess so.
Okay. Thanks for letting me come out again to talk to you about the renewal with the Ohio plan, and then also the optional cyber liability coverage that we instituted last year. So we'll start with the Ohio plan. I'll try to just keep it high level and talk about the changes. If there's things that you want to discuss or you have questions that you would like to ask me, please ask. You've heard me do this presentation a number of times. Not much has changed. So the Ohio plan has been around since 1988. We are a pooled program. We're different than other pools because we write all of our liability coverages on an occurrence basis. The premiums that you pay are the premiums that you pay. There's no accessibility in our program. Our program is backed 100% by reinsurance. So the reinsurers that we have are all A-rated companies by AM Best, which is our industry's financial stability benchmark. We did make some positive changes to the program. So we've made a few changes in the property form, in the crime form, and in our inland marine form. So we'll talk about that when I get to this. Okay. So membership is growing. We're over 800 members. We did increase on page 3. We amended the Ohio Plan Advantage credit for all members. So there was some positive changes in that. Pages, let's see, 5 through 6. You can skip. If you get to, sorry, page 6, which is the building. It's the summary of coverage for the building and personal property. So that limit, we're about 3.9, a little over 3.9 million in values. And, we have that on a blanket basis. So we're insuring all of the buildings and contents that you have, with the exception of your fire apparatus and other vehicles. Those are on your auto, and then your equipment that goes on and off premise. We have that on a special property form, which is our inland marine form. We did amend the limit for business income and extra expense. We increased that for all members up to 500,000. It was 250,000, so that is a change that we did for all members. Ordinance or law is another one that we increased from 250,000 to 500,000. So that's paying for increased costs that you would incur to a physical loss of the property because of a code. Some buildings have been grandfathered code. You now have to rebuild it to the new code. So we would pick up that additional cost. Let's see, additional property coverage extensions. Really nothing different in there from the previous years. At the bottom of page 7 is our equipment breakdown coverage. So that's your, that's if we had an off-premises power failure, let's say there was a car accident that took a transformer out and you get a surge of power that fries any of your mechanicals. So it takes out phones, computer systems, HVAC systems. That's what this is covering. It's covering that type of mechanical loss. It's not covering normal wear and tear, but it would cover an accidental loss. Pages 8 and through 9 is the property schedule that makes up the blanket. So it's the combination of your buildings, contents, and then property in the open. And page 10 is our scheduled property, which is our equipment that goes on and off premise. We insure it on a repair or replacement cost basis. So we're not taking depreciation on any of those items. If we have an item, for instance, that would be listed for $10,000 and it was totaled, we would cut a check for $10,000. We're not looking at machine hours and age of equipment and giving you something less than what we have it valued at, which is pretty standard in insurance when it comes to equipment. The unscheduled equipment is where we made a change, 15,000 for any one item or less. So it used to be 5,000 for any one item or less. We increased that. We're finding that, townships are having, some equipment that they're not telling us about. They forget to tell us about it and they're just shy of it on the unscheduled. So we felt like we needed to push that up to 15,000 for any one item. So that's a nice thing. Computer coverage, no change there. Page 12 is the schedule of equipment. And I encourage you to schedule your plows and spreaders, things like that, your beds. We did have a village that had a dump stall on the train track and was totaled. So they had 2 settlements in that loss. They had the actual cash value on the chassis, and because they had scheduled their plow and their bed and their spreader, they received replacement costs for those items to outfit the next chassis that they were going to buy. So I encourage you to do that. A lot of townships are replacing their beds with stainless beds. So let's see, you can jump to page 15, which is the crime. We increased our crime limit to 50,000 for employee dishonesty, theft of money, forgery and alteration, computer fraud. All those limits got increased to 50,000, and we increased the social engineering limit from 5,000 to 25,000 in our crime form. So, and then there's some other coverages like destruction of electronic data. That's a typo. It should read 5,000 in coverage, not 250. The 250 is the deductible. So my apologies. Telephone, toll fraud, and credit, debit, and charge cards. Those are additional coverages that we added this year. If I can spend a minute or two on bonds versus employee dishonesty. There was some legislation that was passed that allows public entities to replace bonds, which have been Ohio Revised Code, with a blanket employee dishonesty policy. It would take a resolution by the trustees in order to do that. There's pros and cons to that. What happened was a school treasurer had their bond called back in 2018, and the legislation was actually save our treasurer's bill. What happened in this situation is that when you are talking about bonds, bonds are not insurance. It's an obligor situation. It's a surety. So the bond is going to pay the entity when there's a shortfall to make the entity whole. Sometimes there's finding for recoveries that are levied by the auditor, right? And if that happens, the bond would come into play. Well, when a bond is called, the individual that holds that bond has to pay back the bond company. In this situation, it was $800,000. So who's got $800,000 laying around? So the bill was literally called Save Our Treasurer's Bill. So this language, this resolution, or this legislation was put into place to take the onus off of the individual, so that they wouldn't have to pay back if they were faithfully performing their duties. The problem with it is that if you eliminate bonds, and you put it all in a crime policy is an insurance contract that has an insuring agreement and it has exclusionary language in it. So there could be a situation where a finding for recovery is levied. And if you've made the resolution to put all your coverage under a crime policy and it doesn't trigger the crime coverage because it's just not a loss that triggers coverage, you could find yourself in a situation where you have an unfunded loss where a bond would have taken care of it. So my view on it is what's best for the public entity is still the bond because there's no exclusionary language in it. You just have to understand that there are going to be situations where you might have some skin in the game, unfortunately. We had some trustees in Licking County that were paying what they thought was the fiscal officer's internet service so that they could perform the duties as fiscal officer. It turned out that it was the complete cable bill for a period of 15 years. Finding for recovery is levied against each trustee that signed that, and each trustee's bond was called. The bonds made the entity whole. The bond company then came back to the trustees and said, please write us a check. So that's the con to it, is that you have some individual skin in the game. But bonds typically have been what it is. It's Ohio Revised Code, and the only way you change that is through resolution. If that's something you're interested in, I'd be more happy to forward you some sample language that you can use for that resolution, if that's something you want to do. And then we would need to make sure that we amend the crime limit, the employee dishonesty limit, to match what we need for all of bonds. Does that make sense? I know I kind of went through that in a hurry. I'm trying to keep track of your time. So, but if you want more information on that, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'd be happy to talk to you about it. Liability limits have not changed. Still, our largest claim to date is a $5 million loss on law enforcement. It was a wrongful shooting. But what I would tell you is in discovery, most plaintiff attorneys, if they see what your limits are, if you've got a 3 million limit, they're probably going to sue you for 3 million. If you've got a 5 million, they're probably going to sue you for 5 million. That's just the environment we're in right now. I think you're okay based on what we've seen historically over the program over the years. We've had a handful of claims that have been in the 2 to 3 range up until the most recent, which was that $5 million wrongful shooting claim with law enforcement. So know that we do have higher limits available. If that's something that you're interested in, we can do up to $10 million occurrence with a 12 million aggregate. Nothing's really changed on the liability side. We're still providing the general liability, cemetery professional liability, employer's liability, stopgap. If you jump to page 18, that is your public officials liability. So it's covering you for your errors or omissions, wrongful acts, failures to act, breach of duty type claims. We also have some employment practices liability coverage as well. Auto coverage is 3 million combined single limit. We are not providing coverage for uninsured motorists. It is available up to $1 million. Keep in mind that employees' injuries are always first covered by workers' compensation. If they're hit by someone who's carrying no insurance or not enough insurance, it's still a workers' compensation claim. You can add coverage if you want to pay for additional pain and suffering. But some townships view it as we are already paying for those benefits through workers' compensation or through an AD&D or through health insurance. We're not going to also offer it under our uninsured motorists that can impact the long-term cost of your auto insurance. So, okay. If you want to see a quote for that, let me know. We'd be happy to share that. The auto schedule. We pushed some values up, I think, recently. The Ohio plan on the fire apparatus, we are insuring that at replacement cost. If you are insuring fire apparatus with at least 80% of the replacement costs new today, we would give you guaranteed replacement costs. So what I'm saying is that if we're insuring it at 80,000 and it was $100,000 vehicle, we would pay the 100,000 because you're within the 80%. If it's not within that 80%, then we're going to pay you what we show it listed for. So we have had some entities that have said, hey, we're going to identify our really high use vehicles or the ones that we know that we would really need to replace new, and we push those values up. We're not doing it on all of them, but it's something you can consider. I know we did that recently where we pushed some values up. I think that's smart to do, just based on what the costs are on these units and the availability. I'm sure you're running into that, right? Where you're ordering them and it's been over a year to get them, 4 years. Yeah. So, yeah. So, let's see. We are providing terrorism coverage.
I think there's a vehicle missing,
Is there a vehicle missing?
the new ambulance.
It's up to the top page.
That's, well, so it's a 21. Okay, never mind then.
Nope. Okay, we got it.
Never mind.
Okay,
I was looking, they were in order except for that one.
got it.
I got
Okay. So page 20, the bottom, we have terrorism coverage. The cyber, if you remember, we do have cyber that's offered in the Ohio plan, but it's not as broad. And so that's why we went to a separate cyber liability policy. Page 21 is our malicious acts coverage. Bad things happen. You can have, costs associated with a crisis or a bad event. That's really what this is designed to do. Counseling expenses, funeral costs, things like that. Page 24. Oh, let me back up. Page 23. Because it is something on the conditions. There's a new limitation in the form for, and I can't say the word, so I'm going to use the abbreviation PFAs. I know fire departments are well aware of what PFAs are. But bodily injury associated with PFAs, I think they're worried about it being the next asbestos. So that's being handed down by the reinsurance market. You're seeing exclusionary language for that. So long-term exposure to PFAs, but it's in everything that it's in a lot of stuff we use today. Teflon, Tupperware. So, page 24 is the premium page. We are up a total of $1,350 over last year. Operating expenditures went up 47,000. Property values, total blanket property values went up 187,546. Our inland marine values went up 158,717. Computer went up, 2,278, and a replacement cost on autos increased to 192,000. So a lot of that rate that you're seeing is being, driven by exposure. We do have two options on the cyber. So the expiring cyber through Hiscox, the premium was $2,597. Their renewal came in at $2,725. So not as bad as some of the cyber renewals we've been seeing. We've been seeing some anywhere from 40 to 200%, depending on what class of business you are. We did get an option through Lloyd's, and Lloyd's is $1,951, so it's a little bit less. It does have some coverage differences. There's pros and cons, I think, to both. So if you look at the package that says RPS, this one, the big thick one. The premium, if you go to page if you go to page 4, it shows you the limits. And then it shows you the premium on the back of page 6. But in the limit area, what we're seeing where the difference is, the big difference is the cyber extortion. So the limit that you have currently with Hiscox is $1 million limit. RPS or this Lloyd's option is reducing that limit to 50,000. So that's a pretty substantial reduction in coverage. And we are seeing carriers that are doing that. The one caveat I would say to the Hiscox policy is it does have language in it that kind of does have some requirements for you to be able to recover within a period of 15 days. And if you cannot, then their $1 million extortion limit reduces to 25,000.
Explain that.
So what it's saying is, let me pull up. If you look, there's a, I don't know if you have this cyber market comparison. I know we had sent this, but I don't know that I printed this. What it's saying is on let me get to that extortion piece. Oh, okay. So what Hiscox is saying is that the cyber extortion ransomware coverage, so if you get some ransomware that it gets into your system, they infect your backups. Now they lock you out of your system. You can't get any of your information. They then begin to extort you, right? So there is language in the Hiscox policy that says that the limit is tied to the controls that the insured has. And it will indicate that they cannot, if the insured indicates that they cannot recover all of their business critical data and systems within 10 days, the ransomware event sublimit endorsement comes into play, and this endorsement applies an aggregate limit of 25,000 on the entire policy applicable to the all loss. So what it's saying is that if you don't have the ability to recover within 10 days, then your $1 million limit that you thought you had is reduced to 25,000. The Lloyd's policy doesn't have that language. It's 50,000. But it also doesn't give you the ability to have $1 million of coverage either. So
Who gives you the guidelines to know what controls you need in place to recover, because you never know what the ransom is.
Right, so you have an IT department? That you have an IT person or specialist that you're working with?
Well, I'm gonna-
Yeah, I mean,
It's not-
they're gonna be the ones that can answer some of those questions for you. As to what your recovery abilities are. But there's language like that that we're seeing being inserted into these cyber policies that were not there before. And part of it is because they're paying substantial losses. And the cyber market has been, like I said, we're seeing rate renewals on some of these cyber policies of anywhere from 40% higher to 200% higher on the renewal. So you're also seeing carriers making adjustments because of the claims, the type of claims that they've been paying and the size of claims that they've been paying. When cyber liability first came out, I think it was really tough for them to underwrite it. Now they're starting to get results, and those results have not been very good. And let's face it, they are in the business to make money.
So
So
based on your experience, are you experienced with clients who've had this happen to them?
I am.
What's your experience with their reclaim?
Most of them have the ability to recover within 10 days, but some do not. But there's language in some of these contracts right now that, if you've not done your firmware updates or your, updates to your system, they'll start limiting some of the coverages. So there's language that's built into these forms that are going to require you to do what you can to mitigate damages. And having an IT specialist, I think, is the first step. So you guys use a third party to do that right now. So that's good. I think just from a standpoint of coverages, there's pros and cons to like I said, to both. That Lloyd's policy is really a strong policy. There's some exclusions in the Hiscox policy that are not in the Lloyd's policy. The one difference, I think, where there is a pretty sizable coverage difference is that extortion piece. But like I said, depending on your ability to recover, it might be better in the Lloyd's. So, and you're saving a little bit of premium by moving it to Lloyd's. So not much. And I'm okay with you if you want to leave it with Hiscox too. That's fine. They're both strong forms. But the Lloyd's has some differences. I have this market comparison that helps kind of spell things out. I'm happy to leave this with you. If you think that would be of benefit to you.
That's what we want to talk to Carol about, one versus the other.
Yeah, you may want to get it to your IT person.
So the language in there will give some guidelines as to what we need to prepare with. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
I'll give it to you too.
Yeah. All right.
Is there any other questions that I can answer for you?
What they're paying is a technical person to restore the data. Is that what they're not paying? Because if we can restore it, we're not gonna pay the extortion. So what is that covering?
Yeah, what it is they're saying that if you don't have the controls in place to limit the loss, and it goes on to an extended period of time, then it becomes that's what they're limiting. They're saying 10 days.
Right, but they're paying to get rid of the malware and then restore.
That's what you're doing. That's what the coverage does.
Okay.
It pays to remove that and help restore them. But if it goes beyond 10 days, that's when it gets limited, is what it's saying. So, yeah, good question.
Okay. We'll have our IT person look that over then.
I do have some other forms too. This is for those. For that RPS, if you did decide that you were gonna do that. Because we're talking about admitted versus non-admitted carriers. And so we would need a signature on that. If you're gonna do it. This acknowledgement and then the affidavit. And this is just some information about some of the additional services that you would get with that cyber product. It's just additional training, what's an MFA, those types of things. And the application piece itself. Okay, if you have questions on any of that, I'm more than happy to help you. Yeah. Right?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Appreciate your business.
Yeah, next, yeah. Anybody else have any business before I continue? Yeah, Roger?
Dave, I forgot one thing.
Sure.
I would like the trustees to take responsibility of locating the wires over there. In case I don't want to hit lines.
Okay,
I'm bright, but I'm not that bright. And you will be.
That'll make,
yeah,
that'll
definitely.
just make you brighter.
Okay.
Hmm.
We can attempt.
You can attend.
We talked about that earlier and we was having issues trying to find somebody that could do that. With the one wire to the one light that's got torn to when they were installing, what, water line?
Water line.
So we're kind of hung up on that a little bit.
Locating that particular wire.
You're talking about locating the feeders to go out to the yard box. I
I
bet.
understand until I break them, we're okay, but.
Yeah, we don't want to cut them.
Yeah.
I have a real good idea where they are for that purpose.
That might be done, and that service line might be found by your power company, the AEP. And Consolidated and come out and mark your home. line. And
We can possibly get a hold of Oops.
Yeah, we could try Oops
Oops will
deal.
come on the properties.
Yeah. Yeah,
The only problem is those lines will have to be energized, turned on. For them to find it, and they both go to yard boxes, that'd be fine to do that. So you'd be okay.
Thank you.
okay. Joni?
One more thing about, Holland Township Days. Bart usually arranges it for us to put a dumpster. Can he do that again?
Probably if he's done it in the past. Okay,
Take that off.
was there, do you recall what size it was? Well, he might know.
Probably.
Okay,
One day this time, too.
yeah, okay. Let's see what page. All right. Just move on to page 4. I wanted to discuss longevity pay for the maintenance department. And what I had in mind was starting at year 5 and going with the same criteria as what the fireside did. If that's something the board's interested in talking about.
I'm in agreement with that, with the 5 year.
And for the start of year 5.
Yeah.
And proceed the rest of the criteria like the fireside.
They do 1 through 5, the fire department.
I know they did.
Oh, okay.
This is different.
This is different.
We're gonna be,
Oh, okay.
we're gonna be different.
If I may, and Terry or Dave,
Yeah, sure.
I personally, I have an issue with this.
Hmm.
Longevity pay predominantly in the past has always been involved with more of the first responders. I know there's some companies out doing it. I kind of liken stuff like this to, it used to mean something when the flag was at half staff. Now every day someone dies, they fly the flag at half staff. This longevity pay was always something, like I said, that I've always known to be associated with first responders. I think by doing it to just across the board, you're minimalizing what that's about. People get a paycheck. You work, you get a paycheck. You don't. I mean, not everybody gets a trophy. You know, you've got a job. I don't see where this is necessary.
Okay,
I guess I personally liken it to, first responders are typically put their lives on the line.
Absolutely.
And so do our maintenance people, when you think about it. On these roadways today, on the road mowers, on the snow plows, they're in pretty dangerous situations. I don't think there's a whole lot of difference there. And I think with the longevity pay, particularly the way it is today with getting qualified people and holding them, I think, and we're not talking about a whole lot of dollars. To me, that was my rationale. I respect your opinion
Yeah,
on
that's
it
fine,
too.
yeah. Everybody has.
That's my thought on it, that they do put their lives on the line when they go out there on that roadway. And I think should be applicable to them, not the office people, not administrative people, but maintenance people, I think, are a little different category in my opinion. That's my 2 cents on that.
I kind of agree with that kind of thinking because you've heard about so many highway workers get hit along the road working and that type of thing.
Yeah.
And we've had pretty good luck over the years with our maintenance people. So, think how we're gonna do this. I'll make a motion that beginning year 5 and going through 25 with a maximum of 2,500 longevity pay.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor, let's do a roll call vote, please.
Roll call Jackson,
Aye.
Paul,
All right.
Richardson.
No.
Okay, motion carried. The next thing is, we've neglected over the years to make it a true policy about our maintenance workers when they're called in after hours. And, we've never had a set criteria, and I think that given that where they're coming in and replacing a road sign or putting up high water signs or whatnot, there should be a minimum of 3-hour pay for that.
Now that will include when they leave their home.
Yes.
Okay.
On that,
And return to their home. So,
correct.
I've done that that function many times. And even when you live here, it typically takes 2 or 3 hours to get everything located, placed, particularly on the water situation out there on Lewis. Many times I've been over there, and it's a 2-hour job if you live here. So I think 3 is a reasonable number.
I would make a motion to approve that.
I'll second.
Roll call vote again, please.
Jackson,
Aye.
Paul,
Bye.
Richardson.
Aye.
Motion carried. The second thing is, well, okay. Dealt with that. In event that, like Bart attends trustee meetings, he's never been informed that he can use flex time to replace that time if he comes to a meeting. And, we need to set that as a policy that if he does that, he's, compensated by flex time, which he's on salary.
I would say that's limited to Bart, not.
As supervisor,
unless
yes,
Otherwise, they ask.
yeah, unless we ask for a meeting,
Employees wouldn't be
right,
compensated. Okay,
right.
I'm all right with that. I'll make a motion.
I'll second it. Roll call vote again, please.
Jackson,
Aye.
Paul,
Right.
Ferguson.
Okay, the next thing is the approval to retract the Stewart Security contract. Referencing the resolution that we did before 22-1221 T 005 and resolution 230322 T 016. And what has happened is this motion will retract our contract with Stewart Security to update the building locking system. The amount of the contract was $14,730. Due to breach of contract, they'll refund the deposit paid of $12,940 minus the 25% restocking fee of $1,947.50. And we are also paying, they're gonna subtract $455 for a service call we recently had. They would be a refund of $10,537.
So moved.
I think it's ironic that we're paying a restock. I know that the contract was signed. But we're paying a restocking charge on parts that they have not got in. And that's what breached the contract.
Well,
Now, that's where we are.
Yeah, but
That was a very well-written contract.
Yeah, they did a good job because,
At the bottom of it says they're not responsible for.
Yeah,
I know, I read it.
right, so they got us.
Very well-written contract.
We're done. We can't get out of that.
So,
But the net savings is gonna be what, Dave, 2,000?
$1,227.
yeah,
Because the other quote was that much less.
right, through Buckeye
So
Cloud.
1,000 ahead of the game.
Yeah.
So we're
Okay,
all right.
so we're back to this resolution to retract.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Now, to approve the contract with Buckeye Cloud for the building door lock system at a price of $11,115.
So moved.
I've got a question about that. I
Yes.
looked at their quote.
Yes,
So what happens after a year? Cause he said this is included for a year. What happens in the second year?
assume
These
there's,
door
I didn't see the
locks.
quote. I didn't see it.
I actually didn't see it either. I'm sorry.
Emailed it out to you guys.
You did?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because it says this is only for a year, so what happens the second year? I know we're saving money right now, but
This is to install.
are we gonna save money in
This
the
is
long
to
run?
install.
This-
This is to install the
this
system.
is initial install, we're
There's not,
saving,
there's not a monitoring.
Year,
right?
and then next year it goes on a service contract like what we have with the computers, the
IT stuff.
Yeah. So it goes on technical support
Right.
after a year.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just wondering how much that's gonna be.
Well, we don't know. Just like we wouldn't know whoever it was, we wouldn't know.
No.
until-
Charging us now. Yeah.
Well, cause some door lock companies just install it and
Right.
give you time to train you and everything,
And
and
they're-
then you don't pay.
Right,
Mhm.
The maintenance or annual or,
His goal is to get us independent on doing any, but if there is a mechanical issue to where he would have to come out and do service on it,
We have a
Then
service
it'd
contract
be like a
Right.
maintenance.
or
service
maintenance.
okay,
okay.
okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
So is there a motion for the 11,115?
So moved.
Second.
Second, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion carried. Now, where the projects stand for the township building, the vent for the septic and the trip timer. This was discussed with Sunbury Plumbing, so,
I played phone tag all day long with Billy yesterday. Every time he would call me at the office phone, I was out taking care of other township business, and when he'd call me on my cell phone, I was on the office phone, so we played phone tag back and forth all day yesterday. I
should have
did-
knew that because I had him on the phone.
It's your fault, okay.
Yep.
So.
All right, so it's a work in progress.
It is a work in progress. He
Okay.
wanted to come out yesterday from what, Donna, is that her name? Oh, I can't remember. I think Donna's the newer lady that's there. But what she told me was he was wanting to come out yesterday, but because we missed each other so much, he didn't make it, so.
Okay. Well, we'll stay tuned on that one.
Yeah.
I have a quote from J&A Construction to do, crack sealing on, Gorsuch from the Ivy Ridge subdivision to house number 12,501. And the quote is, $6,898.50. This is a mastic material. It's kind of a heavy duty type crack fill, and they're telling me if we put this on, we'd be good to go to pave that road next year. So that's what I've been told. And I've been told that by more than one source, so I don't know if they're drinking from the same bottle or what. But I would like to go ahead and proceed with it. So can I have a motion to approve this?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. And we'll need to sign this contract. Okay. Cemetery. Jerry, you're up next.
Let you read that for us. Okay, cemetery. This is regarding Barnhart addition of Fancher. I've submitted a letter to the board with the estimate for Lewis Land Professionals. That is the amount of 11,200. And that's to put 88 rebar pins in. And also chamfer the ends of the pin before that rebar goes down to ground level. Then at ground level, this plate will go on the top of the rebar. That's why the rebar is chamfered. So this plate has 4 sections. And I know you can't see this, but this is the layout that I've been working on to minimize the number of actual plates that we're going to need. But this will be at every corner of every lot. And in most cases, this will take 4 different stampings with these little stamps. And it's going to be a real time consuming project. So this is a mandrel that goes in. And basically on lot 203, you'd have to take 3 different hammer it in, 03 and just and so on. So, and after they're stamped, then they got to be organized and then brought to the cemetery by us to drive onto the stakes. So that's part of the second part of the letter here, which states that the Sims at our cemetery mapping company will change all the numbers to my numbers here, and I tried to base my numbers on what their initial numbers were. So they'll change that for $450. That's what that's for, to go to our numbering system. Each lot will have 24 sites in it. There'll be 12 sites east, 12 sites west, 1 through 12, and 1 through 12 from north to south, to be consistent with Fancher and Maple Grove. Then the stamping portion, honestly, I don't have a clue what that's going to cost, but I put a number in at 3,500, and I kind of based that on what the surveyor's quote was to do the pins. I think the 3,500 is way high, but Lisa suggested perhaps we go with a $4,000 number in case we exceed, because I have a not to exceed number here.
Well, I would say 20,000 total
But on the bid.
on the whole
On the
thing.
whole deal. Okay,
That
okay
way
with
it
that.
gives you a little
But
bit,
yeah.
you don't know what prices are.
we
and-
don't. These discs are $780 or $740 per disc. If we buy 100 of them, and we only need 88, but we're gonna need 100 because this price is about $1 less per disc. So I'd like to have the board's approval tonight to move forward with the surveyor quote. And he's gonna put the extra, he initially had 81 pins quoted. He agreed with me to put the extra 7 in at no extra charge.
So that's 11,200.
200, yeah.
Okay.
So I'd like to have approval by the board for that, so I can get that initiated. The work will probably be done in the fall of this year or perhaps spring this year, depending on how the schedule works out, so.
So we have, boundary expense,
Yes,
the surveyor expense, the Sims expense,
yes,
and the,
Anvil
yeah,
and,
that's the one you
Yeah.
said might go to 4,000.
yeah.
So you want to just take it to 20,000?
Lisa-
Not to exceed 20,000
Yeah, I
on
think
the,
Lisa's got a good point there. It was,
I would say so too.
so if we could ask for approval then for 20,000 and I'm sure I can get it done less than this, but at least we won't have to come back to you, Lisa, for transfer, so. So I would ask for $20,000.
Make a motion that we approve the 20,000 for the Barnhart mapping and
Mhm.
site identification.
I'll second the motion. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Is that it?
Probably I should have abstain on that one.
No, not really,
Okay. I'll go, I think.
not really. Okay, administrative offices,
Okay, we have been working on the newsletter. I had emailed out the, draft, the latest draft to the trustees yesterday, I believe it was. We got quotes from 3 different companies, which I also emailed to you. I was looking here to get the last one, 'cause I was supposed to have the one from, but she told me she would have it to me by 4 o'clock and it's not here. So, the highest quote we had was 2,700. The lowest quote they said would have been 907, but that did not include postage and they were gonna charge us regular rates of 60 cents a item, which was $1,200 on top of their
okay,
907. So that puts them at 21.25,
the other one was 27,
and the other one was 27. From my conversation with Angie at Spins, she thought they would be less than 27, but she said it would probably be more than 21. So, she was gonna be the in-between number. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. If you guys don't want to make a motion on it tonight until we get Caxton's numbers for sure. Then.
you wanna do a not to exceed number with you
That way that we
being
don't have to wait.
Well, we can,
empowered to do the,
if you're comfortable with doing that, then I can do that.
I'm
We have it
okay with-
Ready to go, except for we're waiting on the link from the auditors for Lisa's audit.
Okay.
And then, it's
Which I
ready.
think I'm just gonna give you a copy of the draft
Oh,
and
okay.
wipe out the draft.
Oh, okay.
It's gonna be the same thing, cause
Okay.
he's waiting on his check, so.
so
Okay.
what's your magical number then?
Um,
I want to say 2,500, because that'd be in the middle.
Yeah,
that.
I'd make a motion that we approve for not to exceed of 2,500 for the printing of the 2,000.
and give Kendra authority to
and give
proceed.
Kendra the authority to proceed.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
All right, the next thing I had was, I had gotten an estimate from Buckeye Cloud to complete the internet service hookup, which, consists of moving the location of where the modem box was put and some wiring and stuff at the Grange Hall, to put in the router and to actually do the keypad lock system over there, which would be operated on the website stuff, just like what you guys just voted on for here. It would all be under the same programming. It could all be ran remotely instead of having to go over to the Grange Hall to to change the codes whenever renters were in and out. We can assign codes to each individual group, much similar to what the lock that we were going to go with from Home Depot.
Mhm.
But it's, it's got the camera on it like the perimeter locks would have here. And he said there is a little bit more structuring he would have to do since nothing like that's ever been done there.
Right,
The French doors, he noticed when we went over and looked at it, if you give it a good shake, they come unlocked. So, he was going
They
to,
only have a single pin.
yeah, he's,
Needs to have a second pin.
yes, that's exactly correct. He said it had a single locking pin at the top, but the bottom doesn't, so there'd be a second pin put in to stabilize that, so you can't buck it open. Some wiring and stuff he would have to do, up above the ceiling tiles to get, the wire ran down to access the door, kind of like, he
He's
really-
gonna go up in the attic.
he said there, I thought there was ceiling
No,
tiles.
there's not ceiling tiles in there.
And there's a wire that runs up the side of the door, and I think it's what goes to the exit sign, and he thought he could access right up there with it.
Time to watch out for the dolls.
Okay, I will.
Okay.
But he came in with a quote of $5,470.
Okay,
to take care of all of that.
Lisa, do we have money available for this?
I would have to actually look, tell you the truth.
Okay,
This is only for the Grange Hall.
yeah,
That, and the reason it's so
That's
high
what I was
is because
sticker
of
shock.
all the infrastructure he has to do to get it set up to actually function the way it's supposed to.
we don't want to talk to the space station, just
Yeah.
Oh,
have a door that,
it would also, with doing this, he would secure the,
Yeah,
modem and the router
we're good,
from,
thank you.
just general public. It would
Yeah, I
be
know.
put to where it would be under, like a
Concealed.
lockbox type
Right.
situation. And he would put in a guest, use Wi-Fi password.
What do you think, Carl? You're most familiar with that. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money.
A lot of money. I was looking forward to having the lock system, so that would make it smoother for the
Yeah.
users.
I was looking forward to having the router and stuff for the Wi-Fi be wireless over there.
Right.
Because we haven't gotten that far
I
yet.
guess I'll ask the question. I know there's an elephant in the room when I ask this, but what's the longevity of that building?
100 years.
Okay.
Better be.
I'm just saying,
Oh,
I'm just
Lord,
making sure as time goes.
Yeah, it's some good structure. It's good.
build a new building on top of it, I guess.
For that money.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is, certainly is.
have Spectrum, like,
Spectrum
Spectrum
did.
Spectrum is there.
Spectrum
I
brought,
know, but can't you call them back in because that's what we're paying for?
Spectrum does
Does it
not
serve it?
do routers on government entities. They only do modems, and because it was set up through the government account, what they did is what they're gonna do.
Well, how'd they set up Bart on wireless over there at maintenance building?
I understand from Carol put routers in for everybody. He did the fire department and Bart. And he did it.
Gotcha.
And that's what I think Lieutenant Thrash also confirmed that with me, because there's little boxes on the ceiling that's the routers for different. I think if I understand correctly from what Lieutenant Thrash told me.
I mean, seriously, yeah.
I don't know.
That's a lot. Of
Okay.
money. I think that's a lot of money.
I agree.
I mean, what's, to what end and what benefit, Carl? I mean,
well, the building has no Wi-Fi,
right,
one.
right.
We need it, we need the internet at the building just because whenever we can't meet here, like, for example, I think the zoning commission had a situation where they couldn't meet here, they needed to have Zoom or then Wi-Fi. We need to do something, we're constantly having issues over there with the locking. But that is, yeah. I can't justify that in my head even.
Thank you. I'm with you.
No.
I'm having problems with that myself.
Okay.
I guess we leave that one lay for a while.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's-
Okay, next thing, we got approval to declare,
You got a question, dude?
yeah,
There will be an August election. The
Yes.
zoning meeting will have to be over there in August.
Mhm.
It would be nice to have the Zoom meeting going.
Got $5,400.
Well, see, we have a router now, right?
I've got the router in office, so, and this quote did include a router because I couldn't give him information on the one we had because Carl had it in his possession and he brought it back. with him. So the price would,
The biggest problem is where Spectrum brought the cable in.
Okay.
They brought it in like right in the middle of the room. So to get the cable up and out of the way and someplace where it's somewhat protected. I don't do electrical work much anymore, except for Roger. I mean, I don't know who you're gonna get to come in and put it in right or where it needs to be.
Well, isn't it broke down then that it's less if he doesn't do the door locks and all that other stuff with it? Does that break down the quote to a
Just have
cheaper?
him just install our router.
I mean,
I
that's,
mean, we can revisit with a different.
I would like to know what he would charge to get the cable to a more secure location and install our router that we've already purchased.
Yeah,
Yeah, because and it probably would be a lot less because I know at least 1,500 of this is just for the door locking mechanism.
And I mean, we'll just keep dealing with the door lock the way it is.
Or we could use the Home Depot option that we already had voted on if that's,
You guys already have that.
yeah.
yeah,
All you have to do is change the lock.
If you guys want to do. that.
right.
Let's just see what it would cost to just.
Yeah,
actual router.
revisit with him about the router.
Yeah.
All right. Now,
Need to come back out of retirement.
approval to declare Ring doorbell no longer valuable.
With the approval of the door locks for Buckeye Cloud for this building, all the perimeter components have cameras in them, so every door that he puts the new perimeter locks on will have a camera. So that will make it so the Ring doorbell wouldn't
Right.
wouldn't have a use anymore.
Right.
With the Ring doorbell or without the Ring doorbell, the other cameras, we can also associate different like the back door and say the door at the stairway would come to Mike Cannon and myself. And then they could, all the front doors for the fire station, all the doors in the whole building could go to the chief. And certain ones could go to.
in charge of the building, you're in charge.
That's right. You asked for it.
Sir.
You can delegate that down though, you know?
There you go.
Just the fire department over here.
But that's kind of makes it so we have more eyes on the door and the Ring doorbell would not necessarily
Okay, gotcha.
need to be there.
Okay,
It would stay in place until the new door system would be installed.
so do we have a motion to,
So moved.
What's
Second.
our motion here? What our
To,
motion to?
declare
to
the
declare Ring
doorbell
doorbell no
system.
longer of value.
I'll second. That's what I
okay,
say.
all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.
Okay, and that brings me to the Spectrum technician was out, last Saturday. He repaired line issues at the pole at the building and changed out and updated all of our equipment here in the, this room. It seems. I don't know if I want to speak too soon, do I, Mike? It's been a few days and we have not had any downed internet. When he ran a test on it, we are contracted at 400 megabytes per second or whatever they call for download speed. And when he tested it before he left on Saturday, we were at 598, which is a pretty good jump in download speed. From what I understand, that's a pretty good indicator that it's working as it should, as long as
Yeah.
it works like it should. So that's where we're at with that. Harlem Township's YouTube channel is up and running. We currently have all of our recorded meetings for 2023 uploaded and available for viewing. Mike Cannon and I attended the Delaware County Township Association meeting and gave a presentation that Polly Matty had provided for us. Gave a little bit of a talk on the year in review at Harlem Township, what we've been doing to prepare for Intel. It went really well, and we have received a lot of very positive feedback from that.
Okay.
I think that's it for me. I'm out.
All right, thank you. Chief?
First things first.
They've been waiting. They didn't want to eat it.
We already had.
I've
Yep.
I'm trying a new format for your reporting so that it breaks it down a little bit better. So that you can see more in detail what we're doing and what percentage of our calls are. So that's that. We're at the end of May, we're at 233 total runs. As you can see by the chart, our run volume is increasing every month now. We're starting to track. We've had a lot of times where we're having simultaneous runs, so we've started to track that, see if there's a trend in that or not. So we're working on that. The first item I have for you is to approve resolution 2306/2119 to approve the contract for Lieutenant Frosca. I sent it to you guys with all of the changes and stuff we'd made, so. Yeah, if you have any questions on the runs or anything, please ask. And we have a motion approved contract.
I make the motion to approve the employment contract for Samuel Broska.
For a second. Second. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Second item, we had a resignation of one of our newer part-timers. Resolution 2306/2020. The resignation of Christopher Andricks. We have attempted to contact him to see if he got a full-time job or exactly what transpired. And so once we find that out, we'll pass that on to you. So I would ask you to accept his resignation. He's a good employee. We had no issues with him. But the problem we're having now, we had Delaware County Chiefs meeting this morning, and we're all fighting for the same pool of employees now. And so because we're mostly part-time right now, it's hard to keep, we get good people and they turn around and leave, so, which I don't blame them. That's the end game.
Well, it's been for years.
Yep.
We constantly find it.
Yeah, but it's still different now because the pool is definitely in favor of the firefighters. Whereas before, we may have lost people here, but you still had a good pool to try and get some. Now, as Chief said, we're all fighting for, same bodies.
You need a motion on this, Mr. Chairman? Yes, sir. I make a motion, we accept the resignation of Christopher Andricks. Resolution 23-0621T-020.
Second.
Second. Motion been moved and seconded. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. The next item, we have, with all of the part-timers we have hired, we have exhausted our, reserve supply of firefighting gear. And, to get really good gear, you're going to pay anywhere upwards of $4,000, for a new set. It's taking a long time to get that stuff as well. Anderson Township offered to Lieutenant Broska the opportunity to purchase his gear. This meets all of our specs that we would want if we had to buy him a new set. A new set would be about $4,000 for him. It's a year old, so we've got a good 9 years left in it before we have to replace it. So I think it's a good ROI to do it. It fits him. The only thing we'll have to do is just change the name. A motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. We'll take this one since you're Kendra doing that one. PWC.
We just wanted to notify you, Kendra and I the other day, worked on something and, our Lucas, which is our CPR device that does the compressions for us, is nearing the end of its life cycle. We were notified by the manufacturer that, parts are no longer going to be available for it. but they were kind enough to point us in the right direction, and the BWC is currently doing grants, 75-25%. And it's was it 17,000?
That must be it, because that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, it's about $17,000 for a new Lucas 3. Kendra and I submitted the application the other day. According to the rep for physio, they felt that we would have a response back from DWC within a couple of weeks, but the opportunity to get a new Lucas device for $4,400 is good, and will definitely set us apart, set us up well.
That's good. But you don't know if we're gonna get the grant.
We don't know yet, but everything we're hearing, it's pretty positive. I haven't heard too many where that they've turned them down. So we're hearing, we're getting good news short of the actual good news.
What kind of time frame do you have as far as when you order and receive?
It doesn't sound like that'll be long at all.
Okay. I know with everything else, 4 or 5 years, we don't.
What's the value of the old one?
Like I said, what it'll do, it will give us the opportunity, as Chief just talked about, if we have multiple runs.
Okay.
If
So
the
still
ambulance is
open.
out on one, we'll keep it on the engine, so that if the engine crew goes and pulls up and it happens to be a cardiac arrest, we'll have one until that's available. We'll have two. So if we do have multiple runs, we'll have the same pieces of equipment for both runs.
I think it just kind of depends on which piece part breaks on it, as whether or not we can get it fixed.
Yeah.
Okay. All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Maintenance, Bart reported that the first round of the roadside mowing is done. And he's gonna be on vacation, July 3rd to the 14th. Parks? You got something?
Parks
Yes.
Planning Committee, discussed at length, the electricity issues for the park. We fully support and agree with the presentation by Roger here tonight. I won't go further into that thing. And second, I would invite everybody to take a chance here this week to stop by the park and take a look at the 2 new Spring Rider pieces of equipment in the playground. They're just cute as little bugs, and great fun for the younger kids out there. We really have embraced this idea that the park playground needs to be opportunity for kids from 2 to 92.
He didn't think they're too cute, Joni, when he put them in, when he was putting them in. They weren't too cute then, were they?
Sure, I've been recording my language.
Thank you though for your help on that.
All right, thank you. Mike?
Yeah, just very quickly. I just want to give you a quick update on where we stand on permits. We are actually at 51 right now for the year, as opposed to 54 last year. We're down on single family res and accessory buildings, but we're up on pools and decks. As far as the, I guess, most help needed properties, really kind of in a holding pattern on those right now with them. With our 2 major ones being in Corey's hands. Usually I would get an update from Corey, but he's on vacation this week, so I'll get with him next week when he gets back, see where we stand on that. Lewis Center properties still not received any communication from the person that complained about that, and they were going to get me some pictures, so I'm waiting on that. Covan properties still being cleaned up. I had a conversation with him the other day, and we're on the same page about what needs to be done there. Green Cook, I've stopped back by there twice. I cannot get that person on Green Cook home so I can check his properties. He's looking like he's doing a pretty good job of cleaning it up. And so I anticipate that once I walk the property, I'm hoping that what I can't see from without walking his property is cleaned up too. He told me he would have it cleaned up. So did have a new one on Harlem Road from somebody that complained and went out there. That is cleaned up. I'm going to get with that person and see if it's okay with them if I close that out. Jim? And we still have the dump truck issue, which is at Corey's plate, and he's gonna let me know where he stands on that. I know he talked to the lawyer, but I did not get the particulars on what they discussed. I just think they're slow walking it because they know they don't have a leg to stand on there. As far as potential issues coming up, we're still waiting on something to happen with the distillery. I discussed the ice skating rink with that person, and I don't know if they're going to go any farther with that. And then the expanded home occupation that we had on 605 person had a medical issue. So I don't know if we'll see him for a couple months before he comes back in. As far as future projects for zoning commission, I know we've got 2 lot splits coming their way and probably 2 rezoning issues. It may be 1 rezoning and something else, but we've got 4 projects coming their way. And then we do have probably an extended use variance coming to the BZA, as well as I think that Orchard Road property is going to sell, and they're going to come back and want to rebuild on that Orchard Road property, which will be a variance for you guys. Other than that, that's it, unless you have questions for me.
We're good. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Anybody have anything else? Bob?
The Zoom system has been acting up a number of times.
We know.
Literally, I mean, I know there's been a number of situations where you can't call in or there's no audio, but there have been situations I was working at the zoning commissions and no sound. I mean, you couldn't hear this. So I don't know if we can look into it some way and.
Is the equipment in there being addressed?
Yes, it has. We've replaced 3 pieces in there within the last week and a half. There's been 3 items in there replaced because our backup power source was dead. And so it would just shut everything down in the middle of.
That was an issue.
So we got that replaced. This computer has, every computer, but the computer has batteries in it that were dead. And so it was not behaving as it should. So we replaced those. And there was another component, and I don't know what it was
Was
called.
there an amp? There was an amp.
The amp has not been replaced yet. We're working towards, we're ordering, the amp is the next thing in line.
I'm thinking that might
Yes.
solve the
We're
problem.
addressing the worst things first. If we don't have power to the component, then it's pointless to fix the amps.
And then the amp won't stay on a channel. So you
Yeah.
might have sound and then the amp decides it's gonna go to
Yeah.
another channel.
Yeah,
So that's why.
it's jumping channels. So that is the next thing on our list. We are addressing the Zoom issues, but it just, we have to go through the worst case scenarios first, and we order the stuff, let them know it's here, and they come in and change it out. So that's where we're at with it.
We're always happy to see you in person, come to our meeting.
Yes, you can always come in person.
Yeah, we're always happy to see you. It's nice when somebody comes.
Yeah.
Anything else? Gentlemen, you have anything else?
I have nothing.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, aye? Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, folks. 2 blue tabs.
I would.
Kendra,
Yeah, I think like that. What we do now.
Somebody needs to sign a sales agreement.
I've always doing something silly. All of them.
Yeah, it was sitting on my desk.
Okay, the seller